Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. Today's video is going to be all about 3 different fall wreaths, so stay tuned. Let's start with the large wreath first. Now this is a grapevine wreath, and I chose a large one because I'm going to hang it on my porch and I've got a lot of space above the mantle. So I want to show you some tips and tricks on how you're going to style a wreath. For the design of this wreath, I'm only going to decorate the bottom half of the wreath. And I found this in the aisle where you find grapevine wreaths, and I thought this is going to be perfect to add on to my wreath to help have more areas for me to decorate. Now, hot gluing it wouldn't work, but a zip tie will. Zip ties have been a game changer. You simply put them on the wreath, tighten them up, and snip the end. So I have learned through the years that the easy way to style a wreath is to start with your largest items first, move on to your medium, and then last you add the smaller items. Now for this wreath, I want to make kind of a woodsy, earthy wreath, so I found these pine cones at the craft store, and they're plastic, so I'm not going to lose any pieces off of this, and this wreath will last me for several years. The stems are pretty long, so I'm going to snip them shorter, and then I'm going to attach the pine cones to the wreath the same way I did this other piece of grapevine, and that's with zip ties. I've got both of the huge pine cones on, and I did not butt them up together because I want to put some flowers in the middle, and that's what we're going to work on next is our medium items. I found these really cool colored pumpkins, kind of a sage green with a little frost on them. I've got 3 of them, and I'm going to place the 3 pumpkins in between the pine cones. Now I've placed the pumpkins in a triangular position. Now I'm going to add some beautiful hydrangea flowers. I did not find these in the fall section. I actually found them in the everyday section. They have a beautiful sage deep blue and a little bit of purple. Okay, we're making a fall wreath video, and it's like 90 degrees, so by the time this video's over, whew. All right, I'm ready to add the flowers. I'm gonna mimic the same pattern that I did with the pumpkins. I made a triangular shape with the pumpkins. I'm gonna use 3 hydrangeas, and I'm also going to place them in a triangular position. Now that I've placed my hydrangeas, I'm going to add these little white flowers. But before I do that, I'm saving 1 hydrangea because as I build the wreath up just a little bit, and like I said, I was gonna add smaller flowers, I'm gonna pull this apart and pull a little bit of that color up into the wreath. But for right now, we're gonna add a little bit of white. I've trimmed these little white sunflowers, and I'm going to put all 3 in the middle, and they're all 3 different sizes. So I'm just gonna put 2 together in this little bud right here, and I'm just gonna do that with hot glue. Again, on another aisle that wasn't fall, I found these Queen Anne's lace. This one's just a little bit beige, and this one has a little bit of blue in it, which will play off the hydrangeas. And I'm gonna sprinkle them in around the hydrangeas and the sunflower. This is a beautiful fall bundle with a lot of items that I'm going to use, but I'm gonna start with these very neutral flowers because now it's time to kind of build up on the wreath a little bit, and I'm gonna do that with these. So I used 2 of the flowers on each side, and I placed them as best I could in the same exact spots. What's really easy to do when you do a wreath is it's really easy to clump a lot of stuff and too much stuff and not give the wreath a really whimsy and airy look. We're now going to transition from the medium items to the more smaller fill-in items, and we're gonna give this wreath a really pretty natural look. These pods were super cool and realistic looking, and again, they've got a little bit of gray and blue in them because that's my theme in this wreath, just a little bit of blue. I want to add some greenery now, but I don't want a really bright summer green. I found this foliage that again is kind of a sage frosty green, but the reason I want to add a little greenery is because I really want the pine cones to pop out and a few of the other things to really show off of this brown grapevine wreath. So I just added the greenery just sparingly throughout the wreath, no big clumps. And now I want to add these little white buds. And the reason I chose white is because I have the white sunflowers in the middle, so I want to bring bring a little bit of white up into the design of the wreath. I found these really cool kind of winding vines in the floral aisle, so I'm going to add those next because I really am ready to kind of make the wreath kind of look. I'm just going to add them to the wreath in certain little spots to give it that whimsical look. I'm going to add some of these little dark blue berries. They're not blueberries, but they're dark blueberries. And I'm going to add them in different spots. Now, when you get to this part of your wreath where I've really got my foundation built in the wreath, now it's just time to kind of fill in some of the little spots and do that however you want to do it. The very last thing that I'm going to do to this wreath is add just a few of these really small pieces of the Queen Anne's lace and maybe just a few little petals from the hydrangea. I think we always think, oh, we can't cut things apart. Yeah, you can. Cut it apart and use the smaller pieces. And this will really surprise you on this wreath. This will be the first wreath I've ever made. Yeah, it's a big deal. It's Sarah's laughing. It's the first wreath I'm gonna make without a bow. Well, we got interrupted by a rainstorm yesterday, so we are back at it today and getting ready to do the second wreath. This is going to be more of a boho wreath. We're going to use pampas grass, which is really on trend as people are getting back to more natural elements. Let's get started. The pampas grass I chose, I actually sell in my store, but I really like it because it's an off-white color. Now for the design of this wreath, I'm going to cover over a third of the wreath and I'm going to make it almost in a half moon shape. Now I used a combination of zip ties and hot glue, and the reason I used both is because you don't want to get hot glue on this little feather part of the pampas grass, but be sure when you're adding your zip tie to make sure it is hidden. Now I cut one of the stems off of the pampas grass because you can tell right here it just ends, and I don't want that. So I'm going to add a little bit of glue and add this going the opposite direction so that the end looks much better. Next, I'm going to add some dried grass, and this is a little darker, and that's going to give us contrast on the wreath. I'm not going to add as much of the dried grass. I'm just going to add it in the same direction and then the same way I did the pampas grass, and then I'm going to add one little piece facing the opposite direction. So you can see where I added the dark grass and how I mixed it in with the light. Now the only other natural element I'm going to add to this wreath is some sticks, and I'm going to place them more in the background of the pampas grass to give it a little bit of depth. I found this beautiful 2-inch satin, yummy sage green ribbon that I'm going to add about right here onto the wreath. Easy. I'm going to make the bow and then just hot glue it on. So I know you guys have probably seen me make a bow 100 times, but if you're new to the channel and you're not sure how to make a bow, I'm going to put a link right here, and that goes to my bow making video, and you can learn how to make a bow. I'm done with my wreath. Let's see what it looks like hanging up. So this final wreath is going to be great if you're a beginner or if you just don't have a lot of time. So let me show you how to do this. So I found this wreath at HomeGoods and it's beautiful just the way it is, but I want to make it a custom wreath. So I'm going to add a few little stems. I'm going to add a few little flowers in just one area, not all over the wreath. And then I have got these beautiful stems with blue in them. And blue and orange are complementary colors, so it's gonna look beautiful. I'm gonna trim each little one so I don't want it clumped all over the wreath. And then the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a bow in the same colors, a beautiful blue and a beautiful orange. But this bow is gonna be velvet. First thing I'm gonna do, yeah, you guessed it, I'm gonna start with the large items first, which are these beautiful flowers. I added the flowers. I only did a small little collection of them. They're going to be on the side. And now it's time for me to add these beautiful blue berries. They are going to make this wreath come alive. I love how the blue just made this whole wreath pop. The last thing I'm going to do is make a bow. The color of this velvet ribbon is perfect. The only problem is it's not designer ribbon, which is okay because it wasn't a designer price, but the back of the ribbon isn't velvet. And when you're making a bow, that's going to show. So I'm going to solve that problem by taking a long strip and cutting two of them, and I'm going to glue them back to back so that both sides of this ribbon will have velvet on it. I really like the orange and blue together. I'm going to add this bow right under my little collection of flowers. Let's see what it looks like hanging up. Well, I don't know about you, but crafting is my happy place. Let me know which one of these fall wreaths was your favorite. And be sure to check out these two videos. Everybody have a wonderful day, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel because we're gonna have more videos coming out, and you know what's around the corner is Christmas. So be sure to subscribe. Everybody, stay safe and stay well.